Alaman nyo.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight. I am DM Foss, and so far tonight we have DJ playing ice. How's it going, DJ?
It's going well, man. Glad to be here.
And the squirrel hater, G Webs. How's it going, Gun Websites?
Good evening. Thanks for hosting.
Tonight's topic, thought I'd talk about technology and innovation in the gun industry, I guess you could put it. It kind of came out of the Yankee Marshal did an interview with someone from BioFire, the latest smart gun, and one that's one of only a couple to actually hit the market. And there were a lot of people that got upset that the smart guns make them angry. So it kind of got me thinking about the topic, so I thought maybe we'd talk about it. But first, let's take a peek, see who is out there in the chat tonight. DJ is out there having a wee. Gun Websites. Guns and Barbecue. Night Strike 1. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Roy Munson. Ozzy Osbourne. And Wesley Foster. So there's a link in the comments. Oh, I forgot to pin the link. Hey, give me just a second here. Make sure that's muted. And I forgot to open up the chat. Night Strike. How is
Night
you?
Strike.
I'm good, and
What?
I have something controversial to do
Oh,
because I heard I saw G Web's thing says honk if you like New York, so I got one for him. There we go.
Oh snap!
are you jumping the dry creek bed?
Well, I'm in the South, so I felt it was appropriate.
Yeah.
Especially in a Dodge Charger.
So how have you been?
Been
It's
good.
been a while.
It has been a while. I'm not dead. It's just been busy with life.
Yeah, I know you last time you were on, you were talking about all the stuff you're doing around the house, like pouring the sidewalk and
Yeah, I've been doing home repair, home updating, and whatnot, and then just things happening in life. I don't want to go too far into it, but it has to deal with family, and how
Is that
Yeah.
code for pouring all of the gun tube money into new real estate and mansions?
Yeah, if there was any money to be had. Which there's not. Just FYI.
Speaking of GunTube, I haven't played this one in a while, so I'll play this one. GunTube.org is a video hosting website with a streaming feature. Created by Night Strike One, a man with a dream to protect the rights to share gun-related content, GunTube.org is free to use.
Everyone, GunTube, you should go check it out.
If you are frustrated by the limitations imposed by other video sharing sites, check out GunTube.org.
Go ahead, go over to the GunTube. Shut up, you infringe!
Yes, GunTube.org. They have streaming, and you can actually show guns live.
Yeah.
GunTube.org.
For a while longer.
Guns and Barbecue. How are you?
I hurt at this point.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how Gizzard Gary used to do those 4-hour shows. I mean, granted, I've been in front of the computer for like 6 hours or something like that now, but just sitting in front of my computer doing that, and I mean, I've gotten up a couple times to stretch the legs and like let the dogs out and whatnot, but just kind of exhausted. My vocal cords hurt. Like I was saying a little while ago, I don't know how people do those 24-hour shows. Like, holy cow.
The little secret people don't know about: the whole time Gizzard was live on Sundays, he was on the eggnog.
Oh, that explains it.
He was on the eggnog at least once.
X Adam One's out there. And he said, it's not the technology that bothers me. It's knowing that it will 100% be used against us by the government beyond the shadow of a doubt. And we'll kind of get into that here in just a little bit.
Okay. We'll discuss it when
Right,
you feel
I
like
have a
discussing
point
it.
on that.
I don't like technology.
Well, let's take a look at I put up a poll this week, and we'll look at the poll.
Oh boy.
And so the poll was, are you an early adopter of cutting edge new things? Of the cutting edge new thing when it comes out.
I was the first one to adopt that poll.
No, you weren't.
76% said no, I'll keep the tried and true. If it ain't broke, why fix it? 24% said yes, I love new and innovative. The future is now. And down at the comments, DJ said, here. For some reason, YouTube will sometimes hide comments. So if you do a poll, make sure you put on newest first, and then any ones that aren't there will show up. I don't know, it's really goofy. But so Caucasian Sasquatch says, I chose a 20-year-old Xterra over a new Jeep or Bronco because I get more ponies and better handling. Oh, and about 10% the price.
True.
New York Outcast said that's got to be more expensive than a drug problem. Yeah, it can be. X
It's
Adam
about
1
mid-road for a New Yorker, though.
X Adam 1 said, I'll say yes, but it also depends on what it is. I bought a P322 pistol when it came out. No regrets. Maybe not with a new carry gun, though. Gun website said, try the new thing. You don't need to change everything over every time you try something. But never trying anything means you never change or move. Sergeant Joe Smith said, it really depends. I used to be more new tech. Now I'm more old fashioned. Depends on if the new thing gonna help me make more money or if I feel more comfortable with the old thing. And DJ Play Nice said, not on introduction, but after proof in general market, and the new cost is 60 to 70% less than initial offering. First generation anything is markedly subject to failure and early obsolescence. Rock. Early adopter, shelter, pet, or rescue animal. So that is one of the things about new technology, even if it's, like with cars and a new model, there needs to be early adopters, because no matter what kind of R&D you throw at a project, until it gets out in the real world, and users do things that you didn't think of, you don't know where all the failure points are.
Like dropping your P320 in an awkward angle that causes it to discharge.
After hitting with the hammer.
Several times hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah, I don't mind the expectation, the average expectation that it is, as you indicate, that it would be FOSS. What I don't like is when companies will release something that really is a beta. It's not ready to go, and they'll just push it out. Software is the easy whipping boy there, but pushing out something that hasn't had the bugs, the majority of them worked out, just to allow consumers to kind of eat it while they work through the problems and get past the initial offering to the public. I don't dig on that too much.
Yeah, that's a Microsoft thing where they'll
Yeah.
release the new Windows knowing there's problems, and then they'll just fix it as they go along.
Actually, this reminds me of a conversation I had with G-Web several years ago, where he was regaling me on his early adoption of 9mm, and then how after the fad was over, he went back to 45.
Well, yeah, it's a fad for a reason.
Yeah, and that's what this new technology is. It's a fad. Does it really improve upon anything other than making it harder to use the object? No. I would argue it's not really new technology. They're just trying to make it harder to use the object.
So you're saying that G-Webs has a dirty 9mm past?
He does.
A lot of people
9mm in his closet.
A lot of people experimented in college.
Oh my God.
Let me get the banner going here. That's the right one. So at the bottom of the screen, there's an email address and a link. You can send in comment, suggestions, or pictures within reason. Untacticalfoss@gmail.com, and then the link there, that'll get you somewhere. In the description, there's a link for the overnight Gilded server. It's another place to kind of hang out, share pictures, memes, chit chat with other people. And you can always get a hold of me there, or pretty much anybody else that comes on the chat. You can get a hold of them too. And let me get back to the comments. Oh, also in the description, there's links to some of the smart gun stuff when I was kind of researching. Some of them were kind of old, where the companies are probably defunct by now. But there's an interview with the BioFire creator, and it's kind of interesting. One thing I did notice that with kind of all the smart guns is the people that are creating the smart guns aren't really, I can't say they're not gun people because I don't know them, but they're not really gun people. They kind of approached it more as they saw something as a problem, like kids getting a hold of the gun, or somebody stealing it and using it, or somebody using it against the gun owner. They saw that as a problem, and then we're trying to fix the problem. And I saw it. I don't recall who it was. When I was doing research, I came across a video of a guy screaming about how the people that the smart guns are to appease the government. But if you look into it, that's not why they're doing it.
No, it's to appease the anti-gunners. That's what it is.
Well, I wouldn't
By
even,
anti-gunners.
I wouldn't even say that much. Just it could be, but just from looking in and then reading the interviews I watched, and then reading quotes from the inventors and stuff, that there are some, like the BioFire. Some of the quotes, he quotes like the guns are the number one killer of children, which kind of tells you where he's out on the spectrum.
So he's an anti-gunner then.
But it's not. They aren't doing this to get rid of guns. They're trying to make them, in their mind, safer. And I will say I have no real interest in any of the smart guns, but I don't have a problem with them existing. If somebody wants them, if that helps give somebody peace of mind who wants a gun, but has these same concerns, and if the technology worked, this allowed them to have a gun to protect them and their family.
So then what's the difference there between, just play devil's advocate or try to illustrate my position why I hate these things and the whole concept of them? It would be better and safer if there was like a spray foam that would be ejected every time there was an auto accident, and the inside of a car would fill with foam, and that would save people's lives. And all you got to do is add that to every single car. It's no big deal. Why do you want unsafe cars? When there's technology to make cars safer.
I would have zero problem with that. If it's an option, not a mandate.
It's voluntary, right?
Yeah, that's where I have a problem, when it becomes a mandate. But then that also,
it's a scourge. Like, oh, you're right, there is a scourge. Like, no, there wasn't. And then it's like, oh, since there's this scourge, we can spend time and money and effort and blah blah blah. And even if you've got good intentions, you can't prove that to anybody, and then you're also exploiting the fear. So even if you have good intentions, you're exploiting the fear, and the fear being exploited creates the next and the next. Like, that's why we have the Undetectable Firearms Act, because they're scared of guns that are made out of plastic.
That's why you have the old adage: the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, exactly. People have the right intention, but they're not paying it, because, like you say, they're not
paying attention to what they're doing.
About the rights that are protected by the second. So they're like, oh, well, guns are a vice, and gun owners are idiots. So why don't we just make the guns safer so that gun owners can still be idiots? They're never going to change. Like, fuck that. That's wrong. I'm sorry, but that's super wrong.
You're right.
And I'm not going to, if somebody says, well, car owners are absolute idiots, and if we make cars fill with foam, and then it's like, no, you don't get to say that. Like, just because you have a misunderstanding, you don't just get to go push that around on people. And your product isn't innocent, because your product implies that gun owners are careless, or that gun owners are unsafe, or gun owners can't make determinations. And in reality, there's more guns than there are cars, and most of them are being carried by regular people in their pockets or in their belt line. And you don't care to bother, the smart gun person doesn't care to bother to recognize that fact, and they perceive that there's a danger of gun ownership. So it's like, no, the whole thing is based on a premise of BS, and you might be misguided, but you're leaning into the fake news that gun owners are unsafe, and the concept that we need to be helped is is offensive and literally destructive to the actual argument, which is let's get past this. The people that are duping us are ignoring suicides, and none of this stops suicides. Like this doesn't. Most gun deaths or suicides or accidents, and this might stop some of those, but you can't say that trying to get a smart gun to go into battery isn't going to cause more accidents than it might solve, because that's just all
Wow.
theory.
Look what Rob says. I would expect that from a New Yorker.
Rob said natural selection isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely New York thinking.
So, my issue with smart guns, and why I don't like their existence at all, is simply I see the government mandating, like it was just being discussed. I could see them mandating this technology, and at the end of the day, I could see a Supreme Court, because undoubtedly that would end up in a court battle and taken up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court saying, well, it's not restricting your rights, it's just saying that you got to have this technology in all your firearms. And one of my fears is, how easy would it be to defeat these things? I realize people are like, oh, well, right now you just wave a magnet over it, it can, mess it up or blah, blah, blah. Technology is going to advance, things like that. I get that. So like those things don't bother me that much. But, there's businesses that put up cell phone jammers. That way their employees can't play on their cell phones while they're at work, different things like that. How hard would it be to have things stationed around a city, and if the government's like, oh, we got something going on right here, and boom, they just put up a jamming signal, and now your smart gun doesn't work?
Yeah, the BioFire, I don't know how the technology within it works. I haven't talked to them, and they probably aren't going to share that. That one of the, like with the older ones, when you see them defeat it with a magnet, any electronic lock, one of the weak points is the solenoid, and that's what the magnet attacks, is the solenoid, and that can happen, and it was shown to happen, but criminals aren't going to carry a large neodymium magnet with them unless they're specifically going after, they know you have it, they want that thing, so they will come equipped. And then it's really awkward when you watch them fire it.
Let's go down that route on security, because I'm big with tech. Okay, I like using computers and whatnot, and and new tech, because I've been experimenting with 3D printers and a bunch of other things, and it's just with the of the options and the technology that's out there right now that they're trying to include in this smart gun technology, even though I will argue that they're not smart guns because they don't fit the definition, but they're trying to market them as such. But with the technology out there, you're really limited to a certain number of factors. Like, I know that one, they're trying to do the guns unlock via fingerprints or biometrics. Okay?
Yeah,
that's one route some companies are going. Other companies are saying, well, if you just wear this ring or this armband that has an RFID, we know that there are devices out there right now that can spoof RFID tags and identifications. So,
or can block it. Can shower it with the over, like a
block it. It's true.
Account.
It's true. Or can block the signal and whatnot, rendering them.
So a criminal can just have a shower of PIN addresses broadcasting from them, like in all directions, and anyone who comes near them, the guns can't work.
Right. So but that's the technology we have right now available to use in this smart gun technology. And every company is using one or the other.
Well, and what about when your gun has electronics in it? The bad guy wants to stop you from using the gun, so they just smash it into the ground, and now your gun won't work because it's broken.
That's one thing I'm real curious on, how the electronics are integrated into the BioFire. Is it integral to the operation of the gun, or is it added on to the gun?
Well, we know when smartphones get smashed into the ground, they work fine afterwards. They just work right away, right? Like right back
Yeah.
to work.
Well, you put it in rice and then makes it all better.
exactly.
As long as you don't break the screen.
You make a good point, though. Is it integrated or is it adjunct?
So
And
if
I would
you,
think that
go ahead.
I'm just going to say I would think that they'd have to go adjunct, especially in the first several generations of those, because to take that from concept all the way through, even with government support and funding, that would take a really long time.
'Cause one of the things I was curious on if somebody took that gun and then stripped all the electronics, would it still work as a gun? That's what I was meaning by, is it integral? So if you remove that, does that
Most likely, if the gun part is mechanical, yes.
Well, but they market it as if someone takes it from you, it's inoperable as a firearm at that point. So,
but but he's saying if you strip all the computer parts out of it,
yeah,
does it mechanically still work as a gun? Most likely, yes.
I mean, at some point it has to. But what we're asking is, are they going to put something like into something that you can't get it apart because you can't get the pass key, so you can't take it apart to take the electronics out.
Right.
Like it's like the trigger set in a Glock. You can't get that out until you take the slide off. If the thing won't let you take the slide off till you put in the combination, then you'll never get it out.
And at that point, then they're manufacturing guns that you're not allowed to take apart in the first place. And how do you feel about that?
Oh, no, yeah, it's ridiculous. And again, that has to be from someone who thinks guns are some fantasy land magic where they just always work. They don't need maintenance. There's no parts. Nothing wears out. There's nothing in design that's perishable. It's just ridiculous fantasy thinking that, we'll just put a lock on it. Bing, bing, we're done. We've solved.
We solved world hunger or whatever problem we think we solved.
Let me go back.
So you can do whatever you want as far as innovation and blah, blah, blah. But when you start horking a line that only exists because of to be gracious, misunderstanding, but in reality, exploitive, deceptive politicians, then you're either foolish as hell or you're in bed with them. And I suspect since these companies are making money, they don't know nothing about the subject matter other than they can make money doing it. They're just exploiters. So I'm not against innovation at all. I'm all about innovation, but this is a political entity, a niche that would only exist because of politics, and the politics are only to divide and remove guns from our possession. So nothing about
And
this.
I don't want to have technology politicized. I'm trying to keep it as far away from that as possible. So sort of the question one of the questions that was posed is, the reasons for its existence. Well, the reason for a smart gun to exist is because of a need or a perceived need. And I understand most of the things that you're saying now about it's a misperception of the need. But I also think if we just take a look at it, taking that step back from the politics, is that's really going to be appealing to some people. Even if they're naive about it, even if the tech isn't going to prove out, there are people who would want to have that sort of thing around. I can think of a lot of people who would. Something where the answers, even though we know that the practical application of them today, we do not have this or confidence in it at least. But if somebody knew that their child could not activate it, I know a lot of parents that make that choice, even if they thought they were making a compromise to the overall safety of their families, some of them.
But I also know people that want a breathalyzer in their car just because they think, breathalyzers are a good thing. But then they say after that, they want breathalyzers in everybody's cars, even though,
doesn't bother them. So let's do it. And nobody can blow up a balloon and blow that into the breathalyzer and still drive drunk as shit on a lark.
Well, or just have someone else blowing it.
Someone else, yeah.
You could just have 8 balloons in the back seat, and then anytime you want to drive drunk, you just throw a balloon onto your breathalyzer and drive. It's like easy as hell. You could have a dog breathe into there.
I don't know about that. So you ever blow into a breathalyzer, you're practically donating lung tissue with that.
I'm just saying that people that had one in their car and were drunks would learn how to bypass it in like 15 minutes. And it's probably something as easy as sitting on a whoopee cushion or something is all I'm saying. Like it's going to be fast, and it's going to be, they're going to laugh as they're doing it. And people who are goody two shoes who've never thought about bypassing anything are like, nope, we saved lives. We put breathalyzers in cars. It's the same concept. Like, let's inconvenience everybody for the delusion. Is it delusion that you're
Yeah.
going to create safety by forcing people by fascism?
Let's say when I worked corrections, we actually had a person
Smart guns are fascism.
get picked up for another DUI who was already out on a DUI charge, had a breathalyzer in their car. When the officer asked them, "How'd you get this started?" They had their 11-year-old blow into the breathalyzer. I was like, that's just.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be somebody's circumvention of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Going to seem pretty outrageous. But I don't dig the slippery slope that you introduced there. It's just like, well, if it's a good idea, somebody thinks it's a good idea, all of a sudden we're going to have them.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, I didn't say slippery slope. I'm just saying, I know people, because I know people that would really love this idea, 100%. I'm saying I know people that think breathalyzers are a great idea, but then I know people that say that, and they also say, I think they're a great idea in every car, and the government should mandate it.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I've had that conversation.
No, I believe you. I'm not calling that into question. It's more the people who would have that sort of opinion that I would call into question.
What I really call into question is what I said earlier, where I'm not even sure these smart guns are really the true definition of smart guns, because if you look at the progression of the smartphone, it added features that enhanced the usability of the smartphone, but unfortunately with smart guns, they're not enhancing the usability of the gun. They're only enhancing the security.
Yeah, I really don't want to skip an ad before I have to use my smart gun.
Right. that's literally
fucking
what
hilarious.
Doing. That's literally what they're doing.
And I like the way that you're using, like the angle that you're taking there. Smart gun is definitely a misnomer. Night Strike, you're right.
Because it's not. It's not smart, because look. I remember brick cell phones. Okay, because my parents had them. But I still have it in a box somewhere in the attic. But regardless, you went from the brick smartphone to like the pocket indestructible Nokia handheld phone, where the newest thing for that was they introduced text messaging. Okay. And then it went further on down, and they kept adding features like you could browse the internet on your phone. And then, they added color screens, and then, they added cameras, and then they added apps that could do other things other than just do the phone stuff. Okay. That to the point where they called the cell phone the smartphone, because it does more than just talking on the phone. And the problem with the smart gun is it does nothing other than lock the gun down. It doesn't add usable features that you could do. Like in every sci-fi movie out there, a smart gun is defined as a gun that has a bunch of different add-on features, like, around, it shows you a digital display of how many rounds are left in the magazine without you having to take the magazine out and unload the magazine and count every round and put it back in the magazine.
You know what I really want in a smart gun? Touchscreen trigger.
Or have that's what they're talking about. They're having a fingerprint scanner in the trigger, but a smart gun might have a camera that feeds to a streaming cloud or something, so that every time you want, it's gonna throw the videos feed of both you and the downrange.
And if the internet is down, or there is no internet in your area, the smart gun is inoperable.
One of the links in the description talks about, I think it's like 5 different smart guns or something like that. One of the ones, there's a guy who was trying to come up with a smart bullet, and I don't think any of them are actually operable from the look of them, but one of them has a camera in it, so it's really bad. That I kind of understand what he was thinking it would do, but there's kind of a lot of problems with it. It would detect distance, so the person had to be a certain distance from you in order to fire. And then the second generation actually had a camera in the bullet, so it could record what happened.
How
It
is
would be unethical for you to shoot this person. They're 4 feet too close to you.
That's actually what his thinking was. If
how
they're
is
too
it a
close,
smart bullet? I mean, what other additional features does it add on other than that?
Well, but Night Strike,
Um,
you have to admit that there's more than just that very narrow way that you're trying to define it. Added features kind of
well,
thing. I
I
mean,
would.
you could call get pardon, and I'll pass it back to you. You could get time and temperature from the operator back when it's just a dumb phone, but it wouldn't be a calculator on top of that. She probably might not want to do your arithmetic. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple measure. What do you say, Foss?
Well, if it's the genesis of the smart gun, does it still fit in? It's the start of what the smart guns come out of.
Right.
Mhm.
But
So it all has to start somewhere.
yeah, I know. I'm just being picky because what we've been led to believe what smart technology should be and what they're trying to offer us are two different things.
No, yeah, exactly. They're taking a marketing term just like natural or organic or something that doesn't have an actual definition, and they're fucking using it to exploit the situation to suggest that these guns are going to be smart, like your cell phone is so smart. Always works. You never have any issue turning your cell phone on. These guns are the same way, but gun owners are scared and they're, too worried about their precious rights. So they're using the smart gun, the same, to give it the wolf in sheep's clothing, the fascism in sheep's clothing of, oh no, this is a smart gun, just like yours a smartphone or whatever. Nah, it's all deceptive. And if those people that are actually creating them aren't in on it, then they're being duped by the people who started this whole thing.
You know what? Once the Secret Service, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, all those super awesome operators and whatnot are carrying them and not having issues, I'll start to consider it. Until
They'll
then,
never
no.
carry 'em, but I believe that you're right. The answer to this is 100%. As soon as the police carry them, then everybody else will be not afraid to carry them. But until the police can carry them every day, then nobody else is going to even consider it.
Woods said all the criminals will carry anti-smart gun devices.
Just so they could steal one from the cops.
New York Outcast said trusting your life to a battery is never a good plan.
It's true.
The reason, because the military, they're going to use a rocket or a rifle. So make them use a smart gun. The military is used to having dumbass orders and just dealing with it and moving on. So making that requirement isn't the same as like police who have to, and that would be stuff like, well, I would have saved them, but this is what happened with the smart gun. And, anyway, I think that would just be on the streets as opposed to in theory, like, because then they could say, yeah, we forced you name the unit to carry these guns. Now the unit doesn't carry them, or they quit using them because they have to carry them. They just disregarded them as a piece of resource. But the politician could still say, oh, we have the successful, launch of these things with this unit. So that's where I say, like, all the police are carrying them and comfortable with them. Yeah, of course, everyone's going to flock to them once the police are all satisfied with them.
Kind of touching on what Rob was saying about the electronics is kind of all the old smart guns, the ones that use like the RFID were all like 22s because the electronics couldn't handle the recoil from a larger caliber. The BioFire is 9mm, which is, I guess, technically a step up from 22. But
not by much.
That's another thing that kind of topic that comes up is if you look at like red dots, I think there are red dots that can handle 10mm, but that was a problem, is the longevity because of the recoil. You didn't find them on larger calibers because they couldn't handle the heavier recoil. And go ahead.
Heavier recoil, and then the day-to-day in your pocket, getting sweaty, getting cold, getting bumped, getting squished, getting used, getting neglected, getting dirty, getting cleaned every single day, getting solvents put on them, being abused with brushes and that kind of stuff. Like, these people they're not gun people. They've never used a gun. They think guns are like napkins or forks or something. They just think it's a prop. They have no idea what a gun is.
And Hunter Fett was out there, and he kind of, the BioFire one, it has a fingerprint reader. So when you grab the grip, your finger falls where the fingerprint reader is, and then it also has facial recognition, has a small camera in the back, so it can recognize your face whether it wants to work or not.
Supposedly.
Foss, when you were given that example,
I'm getting
to me,
attacked.
I'd like.
I'm getting mugged at a Halloween party. Yeah, your gun says you're not, so don't worry about it.
All right, I'm going to throw something out here and to see what you guys think. What happens when they do start pushing all these smart guns out? Okay, they become the norm, and politicians decide in some of the more stringent areas to say the only guns allowed in this area are smart guns. So anybody that has any gun made before the smart guns either has to turn them in or destroy them.
It's ridiculous. It's weird.
But that may be what the route they're trying to take.
Well, maybe, or you can just kind of maybe your way into in a corner. Just
think of how many antique guns would be lost then.
None, because that can never happen in the United States. None.
Oh yeah, that would never happen in the United States. Just like they never took any guns away from anybody, after Hurricane Katrina, right?
So the question becomes, do you not innovate because you're afraid of what somebody at some point maybe will do?
Capital F, no. Not at all. And I like with the example that you offered there just a couple of minutes ago, I saw that as, well, one tech drives another. So when these things are at introduction and they can't pass the concussive wave of anything over a 22, well, somebody in a parallel industry and engineer is coming with a solution to that. And then I'm not saying that this is the reason that you get into these things, but when you have all the ancillary benefits from multiple disciplines coming together on sometimes just a single product, that comes up with a whole bunch of, be they good or bad, unintended consequences. And when it comes to manufacturing, it's almost never bad. I mean, we're having to take it from, they're going to stick a breathalyzer, the smart gun, whatever requirement on everybody. Think about some of the technologies that have been phased in or phased out during our pretty brief lifetime stays here so far on the planet. I think seatbelts. Was that 1964, 1965? Didn't have to have them. Then all of a sudden you had to have them, kind of thing. Which lends itself over to what barbecue was sort of saying.
I'm not.
But then I thought of another.
Well,
I thought of another.
On that, real quick on that point, as an overarching idea, yes, but cars are not in the Constitution.
Correctamundo. I'm with that, and I'm speaking strictly to the technology, because I'm not digging the portion of this conversation that's tied to the politics of the political system or actually the gun debate or issue or whatever you want to call it in the United States. I'm trying to look at it only at the tech right now.
Yeah.
And so having one tech drive another one, I mean, I like that. That ends up being ups for our society, maybe more than it does for individual rights. And I'm not trying to say that that's the balance, that's a favorable balance. But I'm trying to find as much positivity in what we're talking about instead of, doom and nay, and here comes the rain again.
So,
well, I'm not saying to be doom and gloom. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you see that happen.
That's
my
doom.
thing.
Don't be surprised. That's doomish.
There's a difference between deliberate sabotage and evolution, natural evolution of technology or materials. So suggesting that a smart gun has anything to do with the existence of polymer machines. I mean, there was also polymer axe handles and, as polymers and glass, is it glass impregnation or whatever the technologies that they started to do, they came up with new plastics and new ways to
like carbon
create
fiber
the plastics. Yeah, exactly. Carbon fiber and stuff. Like when they come out with new materials, new things happen. Smart gun is, again, somebody who doesn't know what they're doing or very much knows what they're doing and wants to drive a diversion, an intentional diversion to create a whirlpool of concern that never needed to exist, but it spins us off into an unneeded rift, an unneeded divide for potential theory. We could be talking about Washington tonight. We could be talking about Massachusetts, right? We could be talking about something else. I'm not saying we have to, but I'm just saying I think that there's a difference between the evolution of tech naturally, where somebody goes, hey, this is a good idea, and then the free market says it is or it isn't, versus some dumbass politicians who decided something and then some exploitive capitalist, quote unquote, exploiting a situation that was created by politics. And then, oh yeah, we're going to cram this salty treat down everybody's throat that never asked for a salty treat. So if it was, hey, we're gun people and we think we can, I don't know, make a new caliber, nobody's complaining about that. If it's like, hey, we think a PCC should be a thing, like nobody's really complaining about that. Like the concept of it, they might not like it. But I think this was an intentional, let's mess with gun owners. Let's create something. It's like the when are you going to stop beating your wife question. Like, well, F you for even bringing that up, because it's not something that's happening, and you're suggesting that it's, whatever they call that kind of situation where you place by asking the question, you place a awareness in people's minds, and that's what this is. No one asked for a smart gun. We are in a position where gun owners have taken the responsibility themselves to stop gun accidents almost completely. And instead of giving ourselves credit for that or acknowledging that is something that just happened because people understand the significance of a dangerous thing, and especially teaching their kids about it, like, nah, we're going to let the antis who came up with this whole stuff suggest that technology should take away our ability to be cautious. I'm not trying to have technology take away my ability to be aware. Anyway,
so my apprehension to it all is adding more moving parts to a device that is meant to save my life. When you add more moving parts to anything, you add more possibility for that thing to fail. And if this technology is so great, why aren't we incorporating moving solenoids and things like that into, say, fire extinguishers?
Mm-hmm. Everything. Like knives should be dull unless you're authorized to use a chart.
The when you were G-Webs, when you were talking about the technology and the effect it has on gun owners, where it's kind of taking away the responsibility from them. I've kind of wondered that about cars, with all the safety features with cars. You don't have to be a good driver because the car
can just brake and not go out of control. Yeah.
Like I have a 2021 Honda, has I turned off all those features because I can't stand them. The lane departure, the emergency braking. I don't like any of that. When I drive, I pay attention to driving. If anything distracts me from driving, I stop doing that distracting thing.
You even turned off the parallel parking option?
That I don't have, but it has the lane departure, the automatic braking, adaptive speed control, I forget what it's called when it stops the engine when you're at a light.
Right.
To save on gas. I turn that off because that's bad for your engine. Puts a lot of wear on it. But that's something that I've kind of wondered for a while is that making drivers, it's making them safer, but is it making them worse as drivers?
Yeah. Well, it's never going to improve them as drivers because they're doing less of the driving, right? I mean, is that kind of attendant to your point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know about that. And the reason being is when I drove truck, we had technologies in the trucks like that. We had, it was called the Bendix system, and it would send out like a radar signal, and it could measure how far the vehicle was in front of you. Were you driving faster than it? Was it driving faster than you? Then it would light up on your dash in a separate unit, red, yellow, or green. And if you're starting to get too close, it would start to beep. And it's amazing how something like that could actually train you to back the frick off of people. Likewise, if your car is starting to automatically brake for you, that could train people to go, oh, I was at an unsafe distance.
Yeah, but I didn't ask anybody to put me in an experiment where I'm the monkey. Like I kind of relate to Foss's example of turning everything off. Like I think
Well, I'm
I
just
don't have a
saying,
heck
if
of a
the
lot of
argument is
technology
that it
involved in my
doesn't,
vehicle, but I would rather rely on my ability to look over my shoulder as I back up than the beep alarm. But I like the
I
enhancement
do
that it
like
provides.
I do like my backup camera, and
Yeah.
I wish I had the blind spot monitor. That's one feature I don't have. I kind of wish I did have that one.
Okay, so what DJ is saying, don't try and tempt him with Diet Dr. Peppers.
Well,
He's not
like,
a monkey. That doesn't
one
work.
of the no doubt, but pardon, but I will respond to those kind of stimuli. And I think that what we were just talking about a few moments ago, or I thought we were about to, was that it's like kind of the dumbing of people and their abilities. So I'll use the example because we were in a vehicle. Okay, get outside of the car, that portion of the car, but I'm going to go with an analogous idea that we use when we're out, and that is how to navigate. So if you're relying on Google Maps as the way you get to and from places, pretty soon you're not having to know street names. You don't need to know the direction. If you didn't know how to recon for the sun or lichens on the right side, a certain side of a tree or something like that, you're going to be thumb in butt spinning in circles, or at least a lot of people would be.
Dude,
So I
nobody
would almost
knew land navigation back in the day. Nowadays, yeah, I don't even think people know the cardinal directions anymore, do they?
Yeah, well, and that's like when I see that the fallibility of the systems now are different than the kind of fallibilities that we bring as human beings. And so, again, I know this might be an overarching, point, Foss, but the fallibility of machines versus man over time, the machines are going to win. So though I myself am the dumb monkey saying, hey, I want to turn off the damn machine because although it might be accurate, I want to judge, safety based on my own tenets kind of thing. I'm not saying to remove the human part of it at all, but the machine's going to end up being more responsible to its programming than any human being is going to be in that case. Not that I think it's better.
Mike McLuhan's out there. Well, that's what, like with the automatic braking. What if I want to hit somebody at 40 miles an hour? My automatic braking would prevent me from doing that.
What if you need to? Yeah, like something's going on and that you need to hit somebody.
Cover up the sensor.
So, kind of to go back to a little bit earlier, when we were kind of talking about this technology being the genesis of other technology, kind of the innovation part is if a new technology is innovative but fails, do you still consider it innovative? Like the I don't know, like the zip gun. I think I would call that kind of innovative. It was different. Nobody really thought about. I mean, there have been palm guns in the past, but a lot of people do consider it a failure.
Well,
but here's the thing. Let's pause for a second. Night Strike, before you do that, I just wanted let's get a definition of innovation, though, because innovation by its definition is just a new way to do something. So yes, that's going to be considered an innovation. Now, are you trying to add something like, does it merit being something to be considered more so, Foss? Can you shore this up for me a bit?
Well, I had come across a blurb from somebody. I don't remember what exactly they said or who said it, but they kind of were asking that same question. If something fails, is it still innovative? It was something like that.
By the strictest definition, yes, it's still innovative, but by its application, I get the point there. So yeah, Night Strike, I didn't mean to stomp on you. What do you got?
Well, no, actually, you're crossing a line here, okay? And I'm not saying it's a bad line. I'm just trying to define the line, okay? So
okay, draw it in the sand, buddy.
Yeah. So you say if it's not used or if it fails, it's not innovative. No, it's not. It's not that the item isn't innovative. It's just that the item wasn't adopted.
Larry Knopf is out there.
Exactly. Because you can innovate the shit out of something just because people don't like it doesn't mean it didn't innovate the shit out of something.
I'm going to give an example. Okay, you mentioned the zip gun. It really wasn't really anything new other than it was like a Kel-Tec. It's plastic with a bunch of screws. maybe some metal parts in there somewhere, but
The
that's
zip
what it was.
gun was under an AR gun that had a charging handle as a piston so that you could charge it on something. So it was a tool designed for an application when, at a time when we were doing nightly. I don't know how many of you guys understand how much stuff was being done, but people were constantly going out and doing things where they needed to transition, or they had to transition between firearms when they were looking to not do that. So it was for a specific niche. Like, let's say one of the guns that shoots a line from one Navy boat to another Navy boat, like you've seen those things
Yeah.
that shoot a rope. Like, somebody could look at that and go, "Oh, that's dumb. We don't need that." Like, okay, fine, you don't need that for Saturday night going out to a skeet shoot. But who needs it? People in a boat. So the zip gun for commercial whatever was a bunch of people who were like, "Oh, we're so cool that we're scared to put our fingers near a muzzle." Like, it's just the bullshit double face. Like, oh, we're all cutting edge. We like everything 9mm and CZ and grip angles and crap and whatever you get throw at us, we're gonna buy it. Until an American company decides to build something different like this, and then it's like, oh, my finger's so close to the barrel. I'm so scared. I'm going to jam my gun into my crotch and carry it around loaded, but I'm not going to be able to touch a 22 charging handle. It's near a barrel. And then, even though the manufacturer said don't cram an aftermarket third-party magazine into it, oh, I can't throw that one magazine I can't throw into it. Like, there was two things that made that gun weird, and everybody, the internet was just like, oh yeah, let's wail on it. No, it was innovative for lots of reasons, and like you say, it didn't get adopted.
Yeah, and I can give you several other examples of guns that were innovative to firearms history that weren't adopted. Like, yeah, and have you ever heard of the Dardic pistols or the Dardic rifles?
Do you have an ammo for one? Because I do. I can go get it right now.
I can 3D print ammo for it.
I have ammo for it that I own.
But basically, what they did is they tried to revolutionize the ammunition for firearms by making it like a plastic or polymer style casing for the ammunition. It didn't catch on.
Caseless.
Okay. And
yeah, caseless is weird, man. Yeah. It is.
And then there was another one which they even used these in Vietnam in some capacity, the gyrojets. They were innovative. They were innovative, yes, but they were a failure because they weren't adopted widespread because of reasons.
Yeah,
one of the reasons and good ones. Yeah,
you could put your hand over the barrel and it wouldn't get them enough. It took time to get speed once it left the barrel. So if you stopped it early, it was not deadly.
But those are examples of innovation in firearms history and in firearms themselves. But because they weren't. I'm going to use the word practical, because they weren't practical. They weren't adopted.
Yeah, they didn't fill a niche or whatever.
Larry Knopf and Eric M509 is out there. How's it going, Iron Road? How you doing?
Not bad. Almost bought a Sharps 4570, but I'm gonna save some money up for that one.
Yeah. Kind of one of the reasons that I brought that up is you never know where the technology will lead. What if somebody saw one element of the gyrojet and created something that is successful, or they made one more step that maybe it wasn't successful, but then the next person takes that technology and makes something successful.
Or that someone in the future looks back at a technology that was limited, like the gyrojet, and is just like, wow, well, we have this propellant now that would, overcomes whatever the limitation is of the current technology. So yeah, back again, I love the way that tech and engineering will drive other tech and engineering. I just wish that everybody was in the same room at the same time and all the world's problems were being, destroyed because everyone was working together on that kind of stuff. But as Iron Road tags in, I got to tag out, gentlemen. Voss, thanks for hosting the conversation. A little bit less often than I would like, man, but any bit of the mouse is a good piece to have. Everybody out there, be safe, have fun, carry your guns, and rock. And I'm out.
Have a good night. Thanks for
Nice.
jumping in.
Well, there's also the issue. You know, since we're talking about innovation, look at the AR-15. That was an innovative rifle for its time because most other guns were usually made out of wood and steel. And, you know, Eugene Stoner said, why can't we make it out of aircraft grade aluminum? Then we have AR-15s. Then we have M16s. So, you know, it's whether the innovation is what, you know, adoptable and, you know, practical, or it's not. And time will tell whether or not this smart gun technology is truly smart gun technology, or if it's impractical because of the security. They've bogged it down with too much security that it can't be used in a situation where it needs to be.
They're all, I think, legitimate questions. Like, I wonder how many pistol whippings can that smart gun handle?
How many
Yeah,
times can he dropped?
It's
Yeah.
artificial. It's not a market. Like the market didn't go, oh man, if only the guns were way more complicated and had electronics in them. You know, the market isn't screaming
Yeah,
for that.
no one
Yeah,
asked for
it's
that.
like-
Politicians said, you know what
Yeah.
should happen, and then some exploitive, not entrepreneurials, but exploitive people who are like, oh, I can make a couple of bucks doing this, whether or not it works because there's a grant, not any kind of like I have to work for my money, but instead I'm going to get this money, and if it works, it works. It doesn't, who cares? So essentially, it's like, here's something that we don't need. You make it, and we'll force it on people, and everybody will be happy.
Yeah,
There
it's kinda
actually there is a foundation that gives out money, and that I put a link to. I can't remember the name of what it is, but there's in the description there's a link where I think they've given out like up to $1 million to.
Like the
The-
X Prize or something, like the
Yeah.
first one to make a successful smart
Yeah.
gun. You're going to save the world, so we'll give you money.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's like it's just like everybody, like Gio was saying, the market just didn't ask for it. You know, it's like kind of know your crowd. Because, like for example, I mean, like when they came out with copper constructed bullets only. Well, for the most part, the industry and us as commercial gun owners, we've kind of, depending on who you are and where you're at, like unless you're living in California where it's mandated that you use copper bullets for things like hunting, you know, but for the most part, the entire community has been relatively resistant to that.
Well, how many people have to ask for it in order for it to be the market asking for it? So
And that's
if
exactly too.
if there is anybody asking for it, whether it's a minority of people, that's still people asking for it.
Yeah, but a minority of people isn't the majority.
No,
It-
but
it's
that
always
does
just-
not mean that people aren't asking for it.
But typically, like new innovations are when people are effectively demanding. There's like a massive hole in the market because this demand isn't fed versus a couple of outliers who have an idea that's interesting but unproven or unsound, or takes a lot of development. I'm trying
It's
to
kinda
think
like-
of how often that happens versus.
It's kind of like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just repeating myself.
It's kind of like when the dawn of the lever action came in. You know, you had bolt actions, but then once you started getting like repeater rifles, you know, that was the dawn of the new age. You know, that was it was a big void that, you know, was kind of needed to be filled because now people were able to rapidly fire rather than cycle a bolt or, you know, pour powder and put a charging thing on the nipple of their cylinders or their muzzle loaders.
That one gun I heard you could load it on Sunday and shoot it all week. The founders never envisioned such a gun. That should have been elite.
Actually,
Did I miss something?
There was a gun during the founders' time that could do that. By the way,
But you had to be like really rich to afford one, or or private army.
But did I miss something? I thought lever actions were created long before the first bolt action.
What was?
No.
Created before the first bolt action, the lever actions were.
So it went, all the different black powders and what do you want to call, like different wheel locks and match locks. I forget the order there, but it went through all those. I think of it as the Springfield. When they did the Springfield conversions into single shot, then they came out with bolt right after that, right? Because if they first had to have a cartridge for bolt to be a thing, you have to have a cartridge. So they came up with cartridges for like the volcanic. The volcanic, was like, well, let's do a cartridge. And then Smith & Wesson was like, here's a cartridge, right? 22 long rifle comes along. And then they're like, hot damn. And then they come out with two different kind of primers. And then they start making guns around that. So the first thing they did is take black powders, chop the back end off, turn them into, those Springfield conversions. And then somebody was like, well, this is neat, but why don't we just make a bolt action? I forget who made the bolt action. Who invented the bolt
Well,
action?
according to the Googles, the first bolt action produced was 1824. And I'm not sure if they're saying invented or hit the market.
That predates way before the first lever action by
Winchester.
Winchester.
Lever action was
remember
Colt,
before Winchester lever action.
What did a first bolt action shoot?
What did you say?
If it's a bolt action that's shooting black powder, something. Because the volcanic was the first. Let's cram powder into a projectile instead of black powder. Pouring it in separately. So you probably had paper cartridges that might have been shot through some kind of bolt action, but I suspect if it was more like a bolt breech where you'd open the back of a black powder, shove a paper cartridge in there, maybe cut it, close the breech with a bolt. But as far as you have to have a cartridge before you can have what I'd call bolt action.
According to the wiki, the first lever action rifles on the market were likely Colt's first and second model ring lever rifles.
Well, that's bullshit as fuck.
Both cap and ball rifles produced, and they were between 1837 and 1841. Multiple lever action designs, including volcanic pistols, were designed before the American Civil War, but first significant designs were the Spencer repeating rifle and the Henry rifle, both created in 1860. The earliest lever action revolver was in 1826, capable of firing 6 shots in less than 6 seconds. Produced in Italy by Cesare Roszagalio and patented in 1829.
Shooting what?
Shooting, not specific. It doesn't say. That's the thing that kind of gets me.
Yeah, so paper cartridges. You want to go around calling a bolt action, like a black powder bolt action rear charging thing, a bolt action, I guess.
Eric said, I don't think you'll see any smart guns really take off until a major law enforcement agency adopts them. That was kind of brought up earlier. I think, if the military or police adopted them, they would take off. That's, the reason why 9mm took off.
And I don't see the military adopting another new gun anytime soon.
Yeah, no. Especially after they just adapted the M18.
When you've got an executive branch that is dominated by people who are idiots, then they can say whatever they want and make it happen.
Well, the one thing that, let's see here. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
X Adam is asking thoughts on the Echelon versus new Smith & Wesson Magnum gun for next potential purchase.
So they're calling the first bolt action these needle rifles. So a needle rifle is essentially a paper cartridge that you'd shove that needle in there to hit some kind of primer, right?
I don't know, because I don't know too much about lever action history.
The Dryce needle gun was the first bolt action, really.
So to answer X Adam 1's question, I say the Smith & Wesson because I still haven't forgiven Springfield.
I actually got a chance to hold an Echelon today, because I'm currently funneling a 44 mag right now that I bought instead, and I would never buy that thing new or used anyways. But it's basically a kind of like a Glock, basically, just without the hump.
It's
you know?
closer to a SIG, and I'd rather own a SIG than a Springfield Armory.
I'd rather own a SIG over a Glock word. Yeah. It just, the one thing that I was really irritated about is that it doesn't tell me where to grip the gun.
And
Yeah,
personally, I
if you're
don't have an opinion on either of them. The 22 Magnum just doesn't interest me, and the Echelon, the flood of big channel or even smaller channel videos kind of turned me off. I'm not even going to look at
It's
it.
really funny. Like, I was watching like Grantham light up Instagram with the memes because he's not afraid to give Springfield Armory crap on their products or whatever.
Probably
It's like
because he's not sponsored by him.
him and Honest Outlaw, because Honest Outlaw, he buys the guns either with the patron dollars or his money to do the reviews, and then he gets rid of them or he either keeps them or whatever. But I don't know. But the dude, I think his name is Chris from Honest Outlaw. He's up there with Such in my opinion. I don't know if Such is as bought off. I think Such is a little bit more than that, but I don't mean to, badmouth anybody's favorite YouTuber. I'm kind of gonna leave that there. I just think Chris from Honest Outlaw is a good guy.
Don is Don, and that's all I'm going to say on that one.
So today I stopped by the gun range and
Oh no, you can't show that on camera.
got a plastic box. Nice.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
Oh, I know what that is.
That's a nice plastic box.
Sorry, I got really excited.
Wait a minute, I didn't see it. Show me show the box again. I'd like
should
to
have
see
been
the
paying
box.
attention.
This is so freaking
I'm
exciting.
using my phone to talk with you.
It was a
guys.
Kimber box.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh man, member. Oh man.
I remember.
Welcome to the dark side.
And I've got custom grips being made for him. So I don't have any good pictures of it yet. So
It is a Faust. Is it
Yeah.
a rounded heel 1911 or is it a
no,
No? Oh. Because I was gonna say if it's a round heel, I do have a custom grip I'd like to send you.
Is it one of their new revolvers?
no, I wouldn't mind a K6, but no.
Oh, it's not a K6.
It's a rifle.
Yeah, no, the rifle wouldn't fit in that box.
I thought it was in there sideways.
I wonder how many water jugs it would take to stop a 44 mag out of this lever action.
Depends on how big the water jug is.
Just 1 gallons. 1 gallon jugs. Crystal geyser jugs to be specific. The ones without the silly little handle on the side.
We should, in honor of your new plastic box that you got, are we going to do some sort of a Kimber bracket tonight?
We should.
No, I got grease on my bracket, so I had to send it out to get it washed. So.
He's always, I just love how G-Lips is always constantly just badgering Faust for a bracket.
I'm gonna say, pretty sure that
House used to do brackets, and now he doesn't.
I'm pretty sure that grease actually eats powder coating. You're probably gonna have to get that repowder coated as well. It's gonna take a while to get this bracket back.
Yeah, no, G-Webs is now bracket master.
Yeah. Well,
He
Guns
does
N'
a-
Barbecue used to do them too.
Every once in a while.
We need to do one of those music brackets. Guns N' Barbecue.
I think sometimes we should honestly revisit
Yes.
some of the brackets, like, because I feel like some of the brackets and certain ones, there's like certain guns got or certain things got like a bad matchup.
So
Like
Iron
it-
Road wants a bracket.
That's the whole point. though.
Well,
Ye-
think about it. Like, you got
Somebody
two
lucky
great
Well-
guns that's hard to compare, but then you end up with one weird
That's why it's
champion
a
winner.
bracket. That's why
Well,
it's interesting. because otherwise it would be boring.
But that's not what I'm saying. It's like, for example, like you get two crap guns compared to each other, but then you got the two great champion guns compared to each other. And
If
it's like,
if it wasn't a
what?
bracket, it would just be your opinion.
Yeah, and you know, as
That's
much
not what I'm.
as,
it forces
That's not what
you
I'm
to
saying.
put the- it
as
forces you
much
to
as
make
people
those
love
comparisons.
lever actions, I like my semi-automatic M1 carbine. I'm telling you.
That's not what I'm saying.
You should get that checked.
That's good.
It sounds like your elbow's having a little issue.
Nah, it's fine.
Doctor, it hurts when I do this.
How do you get? Speaking of firearms at this point, I was looking at that the Sharps rifle that I was looking at today. They got it priced around 1637 beans. It's made by Cimarron.
Okay, it's
I don't know what.
reproduction.
What's up?
It's a reproduction.
It's a reproduction, yeah.
You got to be careful. You got to wash out all the spaghetti sauce.
Hey,
Cimarron. Oh, it's Italian. Cimarron.
I mean, Italy. They're boiled in spaghetti sauce to get that.
That's weird because I think it's like
I'm offended.
Because the weird thing is that it was made like the stamp was said it was made in Ogden, New Jersey. Weird enough.
The stock on it?
No, on the barrel. It was stamped that said it was made in Ogden, New Jersey.
There's an Ogden, New Jersey? I thought Ogden was Utah.
They're allowed to have more than one city name.
Well, I mean, think about it. There's a Portland, Oregon, but there's also a Portland, Maine, but no one ever hears about Portland, Maine.
There's
There's also a Portland cement.
Yep.
I use Portland cement often.
Cal Portland, yeah.
Huh?
I used to work for Knife River, so
when people don't pay their guntube.org monthly bills, he has to make some Portland cement footwear for them. Takes them on a boat cruise.
as long as you're buying from Cal Portland and not Knife River.
No, I no longer vacation at Lake Mead.
So Eric is asking, is it Uberti or Pieta? Cimarron is just an importer, and they slick up the guns.
Uberti.
If it's Cimarron, it's Uberti or Pieta. It's either one. They do both.
Do they do both?
Yeah, I've seen them do both.
I thought they were just Uberti. That's my fault.
Yeah. There's two of them, two companies in Italy that do old gun reproductions.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's really weird is I learned something today was when before I bought this Henry today, I was debating on whether if I wanted to get the Winchester or this Henry, but I'm kind of a sucker for octagon barrels, and so I went with the Henry. But one thing that kind of made me surprised was when I was looking at the Winchester, it said it was like a 1892 or 18 something reproduction, and it's not actually made by Winchester. It's made by some plant in Japan.
Yeah.
It's like, it starts with an M, I think.
Winchesters are made in Japan for a long time.
Manchester?
I didn't know that, to be honest. I always thought, I kind of thought Winchester was made in America for some time, but that's why I kind of prefer a Henry. Yeah. Smoother action, in my opinion.
So those guns made in Japan, according to G-Webs, they're made doused in soy sauce.
Yeah, boiled in soy sauce.
Yeah.
I thought it was doused in sake. But
it's aged soy sauce that's never touched by human hands.
That's what the workers are drinking.
And just to let you know, soy sauce is actually, from what I remember, it's not Japanese. It's actually Korean.
They use it. The Japanese use it too.
Yeah, they use it, but it's more. It was a Korean idea, from what I understand.
Well, Japan invaded Korea and they made it their own.
They really did. They really did.
Yeah, Japan did have a habit of acting up.
I mean,
until they touched 8 boats, 8 floating boys.
If you look at Japanese media, they are crazy over soy sauce these days.
They're crazy about a lot of things.
They are.
They're like, nice sauce. Be a shame if we used it on our sushi.
Right. You know.
Speaking of which, I might go over to that authentic ramen place that used to be across the street where I worked for dinner tomorrow.
Good for you.
I went to Cabela's Friday yesterday. I guess yesterday was Friday. And
Yes.
I had talked about before they had a Star BM40 that I ogled for a while.
Yesterday was Saturday, by the way.
When I went there, they had two. They had a stainless and a blued.
Ooh.
You got the stainless, didn't you?
I left the room because I had to leave the room. Otherwise, they're like, "Is there anything you would like to see? We'll take it out of the case for you." No,
otherwise you would have parted with some dollars.
You know, speaking of Cabela's, I went to their other branch the other day because I went down with family to visit Savannah, Georgia, and I went into the nearest Bass Pro to me. And
Telos is out there. Good evening.
All I gotta say is I was very disappointed with their selection of ammo. Nothing but 223, 9mm, and 6.5 keyboard.
When you go in there, you have to use your hacking skills to go in there and turn off the lights in the letter B.
You know what I'm really happy about?
I wanted to.
I'm really happy.
The Cabela's has a pretty good selection again. You know, they got a little bit of everything. Shotgun, rifle, handgun.
I mean, their gun selection was good, but their ammo selection
ammo
was like, who's ordering your ammo? A chimpanzee?
I didn't look to see what everything they had, but they had 38, 357, 45, 40.
That's kind of the thing.
Didn't look at the rifle stuff this time.
That's the kind of thing that irritates me about Sportsman is that they kind of got an okayish ammo selection, but they got a really bad, rifle selection for the two locations that I tend to visit. Because if you want to lever action anything, good luck. You're going to see nothing but Golden Boy 22s or 1022s. You're not going to see a 4570 like you used to. 4570, 3030.
Eric said some Cimarron single shot rifles are Pedersoli, so hence the higher price. Pedersolis are higher end than Uberti.
Yeah.
And Woods lives next door to a Bass Pro Shop. I know. I have been to that Bass Pro Shop before.
It's just some weird thing in my area where finding decent ammo.
The one thing I learned is that when it comes to finding decent ammo for me is just smaller gun shops in general. Because one place I like to frequent is Gators Custom Guns over in Kelso, Washington. And they got a pretty decent ammo selection. And I'm mostly there for reloading supplies because I actually caught, for the first time in a hot while, I actually caught some large Magnum rifle primers. And that's the first time I've seen them in a while.
I'm going to have to order my ammo from the CMP because I'm not going to find any 30-06 Full Metal Jacket anywhere.
I'm finding a crap load of it at Sportsman's, but the thing is it's not M1 Grand rated. I did, though, see some M1 Grand rated cellular and below over at Gators today, though.
Yeah, M1 Garand doesn't bother me.
But
I've got an adjustable gas plug.
Oh, you do? Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of 150 grain American Eagle in Sportsman's warehouse, at least up here in Oregon. I don't know about you over in Nebraska.
I'm in South Carolina.
Oh, well, I thought you were in Nebraska, or is that?
No, that's Travis.
That's Travis. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Travis. I thought both of you were in Nebraska. Because I know Matt's in Texas and what's his face is in Colorado.
Honda.
Yeah.
Miss Mel, 269
Honda's
is
fake,
out there.
by the way. He's a robot and an AI.
Good morning.
And the images you see of them online are just holograms.
There's that one politician. They just take pictures of that guy and put him in AI.
Yeah,
Speaking
he's
of
AI generated.
Oh,
speaking
that's
of
what happened to
politics,
Mitch McConnell. His AI froze.
that's what I was gonna say. Speaking of politicians, what do you guys think of McConnell just freezing, having a stroke?
You know, I mean, when he met Biden, yeah, I would have a stroke then too.
I mean, still though, I'm kind of getting tired of his geriatric. Just anytime he's on in front of the television, I get a little irritated.
How do you
Don't
think
watch
the people
the
of
television.
Kentucky feel?
I don't, but that's the thing. I like how is like hasn't he been primaried at least once in his lifetime?
Yeah,
And at the same time, it's like it's kind of funny. They could vote in geniuses like Rand Paul, but then vote in idiots like him.
well, it's Louisville's fault.
Oh yeah.
So, Foss, did you have anything else on the smart guns before we spiraled into bold actions and lever actions?
No, I thought we kind of
Pretty much
topped
killed
it
it.
out. Yeah.
I'm pretty wary about him. That's just my opinion.
Like I said, I probably will not own one. I'm not interested in it, but I don't have a problem with them existing. If somebody wants one, they should be able to buy one. If somebody wants to make one, they should be able to make one. I don't believe it should be mandated, but I don't have a problem with their existence.
I personally think that it's going to fade out like in a kind of like a fad in a way, kind of like how that idea of autopilot for cars did. Matter of factly, I remember there was a story where one
hasn't faded out. They're still experimenting with that.
Yeah, they're still experimenting with that, but it's like, when's the last time you really heard about it, though?
The only reason you never heard about it is because nobody else has died from it.
There's all fleets of taxis that are robots.
And the thing is that one thing I remember the last thing I heard about anything autopilot related was years ago, and it was one lady that was driving her toy hauler. It was an RV, and for cruise control, instead of calling it cruise control, the manufacturer said it was autopilot or auto control or something like that. And she switched it and then proceeded to go into the back of the freaking RV to go do whatever, and she crashed, and she was wondering the heck why that happened. She tried and
that's just somebody that's a friggin' idiot.
And well, yeah, no crap.
That
but
nothing to do with autopilot.
Yeah,
but the funny thing is that because it said autopilot on the dash, she actually sued the manufacturer for damages and won. And that's what got me. Is like, what? It was like the McDonald's coffee case.
Well, the McDonald's coffee thing was not how it was represented. It was nuclear hot coffee, which they had been warned several times that to turn down, that the temperature was way too hot, and the lady did spill it on herself, and then she went to them and said, "Hey, these are my medical bills from the hot coffee that was too hot, that you were told not to have this hot." And they said, "No, we're not going to pay your medical bills." So she sued, and whatever the big amount was, it was reduced later on, but it gets misrepresented.
It was like $7,000 in medical bills, and they told her to go pound sand.
And then with the lady with the RV, I don't know the details. So whether they're saying that it was misrepresented to her as the thing that it wasn't, I mean, she was stupid for leaving the front, but not knowing the details is kind of a big part of really understanding on what why some decisions were made.
Big old purple Heartwood line grips for a Bobtail cut 1911.
If she won the case, it was simply because they had some sort of negligence in labeling it as autopilot. But then at the same time, she has negligence on her part because then she should have read the owner's manual, saw the owner pilot or autopilot would have just been cruise control or whatever, blah blah blah. That you shouldn't leave the seat.
Yeah.
But and that goes back to the McDonald's thing. I think the coffee was something like 160 degrees, which is absolutely insane to be putting anything out the window at that temperature.
I believe it was actually hotter than that, because the thing is, the cups were so hot that you couldn't even hold it, even with the heat.
Have a good weekend.
What's the heat thing? The heat shield. It
Well,
was
there
because it
wasn't
was so.
shield.
Either way, they were putting coffee out the window at a negligent temperature.
I understand. I understand it gets misrepresented, and then I understand that. I'm just saying, as an example, if it wasn't, if it was just normal, regular,
Nuisance
reasonably warm coffee, or reasonably hot, I should say.
But the case is it wasn't, and there's a strong argument to be made that they were negligent for putting anything out the window that hot in the first place, especially after they were told on multiple occasions, you need to change that.
Because
I remember there was a deal where they were just paying off. It was cheaper for them to pay off something than to. It was cheaper for them to pay off the occasional third-degree burn than to rewrite all the manuals or something dumbass like that, because they had like so many McDonald's, and it was just like, it's cheaper. We don't have this many, not because anyway they were doing the coffee like that so that people could get to work and still have their coffee hot. So
yeah,
because they were doing it that way and didn't really care that people were leaving it like that. But then I think that was the issue. There was an element to that.
Because the first thing they did was put it in their cup holder and didn't sip it until they got there.
Well, yeah, 99% of people are getting coffee on the way to somewhere, and they knew that it was hot as shit. So they, most people aren't going to just do it. But I think the idea was that if a giant company can it's like the same thing with some of the problems with cars where they just go, well, we know there's going to be a problem with this, but it'll be easier to just pay off the 3 or 4, whatever lawsuit, whatever, cases than it is to change the production of the car seatbelt or whatever. It's like one of those things. And then it was a large lawsuit in order to tell the corporation, like, quit paying these $7,000 bills off and ignoring it. Rewrite your fucking manuals because this cost you $1 million. I think there was an element of that or something to it.
There's Honda now. They're
Honda.
Yeah.
Or you mean the car Honda?
The car Honda.
Yeah, with the Takata airbags.
On some of the stuff, they're not doing recalls. They're just extending your warranty. We had for...
Oh, it's interesting. So, like, we know there's a problem, but unless you have the problem, don't worry about it.
Yeah. They're probably with more serious stuff, because there was something with air conditioning on my wife's car that we ended up having to take it in to have it fixed.
Well, the huge ones for Honda tends to be like either coolant or it had to do with the Takata airbags.
Takata pottery airbags? Yeah, that would suck. Like, oh no, I'm in an accident and a bunch of pottery.
Well, no, so that's the thing. It's like it practically might as well been, because the thing is, one of the big problems it was a big giant recall for them, because Honda found out that upon detonation of the airbag, deploying of the seatbelt restraint system, the airbags had a tendency to actually send out metal fragments into the face of the driver and the passenger. And so that's why they were recalled.
Your own personal Claymore. Iron Road, is there anything you would like to plug?
No, not really. Just make wise financial decisions.
Make wives. Guns Barbecue.
I almost had a wife once. I entirely regret it, so I'm not going to make any wives. I guess I can plug the Tuesday show. We just did a book club. This Tuesday we'll announce whatever the new book for August will be. I realized
that was a good discussion. Your the Art of War one.
I appreciate it very much. So I realize book club isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy it. So we're going to keep doing it once a month. Thank you for the invite as always, Foss.
Oh, no problem. Night Strike. Is there anything you would like to plug? Are you going to do chats again, or is that all on hiatus? Or have you left us already?
He does chats. He just doesn't do them around us. He does them like on other places. History of guns and stuff like that. He's probably asleep by now. I don't think he's allowed to be up this late.
You know, it would help if I have myself unmuted. That would help. I was talking this whole time. Nobody was listening. Like, why won't you guys shut up and let me talk?
I've done that so many fucking times and yelled and cursed.
Well, in my defense, it's 3:38 a.m. here, so
yeah, fair enough. You're probably
I'm
drowsy.
On the East Coast. I'm falling asleep. So,
pardon me for my swearing.
Anyways, I am doing chats. I'm just not doing news related chats anymore because I don't want to get into it. Anyways, I'm doing classic gun talk now instead of hit or miss.
Oh.
So we talk about classic or not antique but older firearms.
Old-fashioned guns.
Old-fashioned guns, yeah.
Old technology.
So like the M16, the M60.
Well, no, more like the the Mosin Nagant, the M1 Garand, the M1 Carbine. Yes,
so is Firefighter, is he still doing chats? I haven't seen anything from him in a while.
Firefighter problem, his work schedule he went from being like third shift to being like 2.5 shift.
Oh God, I know exactly what he's doing now.
So he has to go on to work in the afternoon, and he doesn't get off till like 4 a.m. now.
He's working that graveyard swing hybrid shit.
Yeah. So
with a good imagination, you can get off any time of the day that you want.
Well, that's not the kind of get off we're talking about. So see how well that works over with your boss, Foss. I don't think they work out. So I'm talking to him about what we're gonna do, and right now it's he's on hiatus too.
Oh, gun websites. Hold on, before you say anything, let me do this.
The man with the plan, the man with the van.
Yeah.
Man with the dog.
2-dog approved.
GearWebsites.com for all your 2A related t-shirts, patches, stickers, posters, books. He does technology consulting, website consulting, you name it. He can probably consult at gunwebsites.com. He also has stuff on eBay. Is it under Gun Websites or is it Gear Websites?
Gear Websites.
Gear Websites on eBay. He has eBay auctions going on.
I feel that van in that video is more impressive than his actual van.
Oh,
because it's jumping in the air.
Remember, the pug is a communist.
So it's a good time to get projects going if you're going to try to get them ramped up for Christmas. So since you brought all that up. But thanks for hosting, and let's remember that Brooke Cheney does her show on Saturdays. Weekly focus on suicide prevention and mental health awareness to get comfortable with those topics that can be difficult to address so we can be better able to have conversations with the other side and ourselves about the real things that, the deaths with firearms, 2 out of 3 of them is a suicide. So solving that, dealing with that, preventing that, not only takes away ammunition from the antis, but saves lives. So it's a great project that Brooke has been focusing on now for a long time. No one else in the industry, no one else in the community is putting anywhere near the time into it. She's also in the DC project, and she's a firearms instructor. So it's a little bit more to it than just those topics. But for the most part, it's a weekly consistent topic or consistent focus on mental health awareness. Really great show. Normalizing, having conversations about these things so that when someone wants to come at us with, well, I don't like your property, I don't like your rights or whatever, you can just sidestep them and say, I don't care what you think about my rights or my property. Let's talk about suicide and why you're standing on those graves, or, you know, some more tactful way of saying that, essentially.
If anybody ever talks to anybody from StreamYard, it would be really nice to have some kind of automatic link generator. So I don't have to remember to put everybody's links out. I can just have it hit a button and
like a menu or something that you can click. Yeah.
You know, like with the banners or stuff like that. So I got word that possibly September, they might have my work schedule figured out, so I might get Wednesdays off again, maybe. So for the time being, we're still going to stick with Saturdays.
Is Barron still dead?
He's still
in
regenerating.
a coma.
I heard that he got left out in the sun and got all dried out, and you've currently got him in one of the Luke Skywalker bubbles or tanks.
Yeah, he's on the slow charger
tanks.
He's a test tube baby right now. He's in like stage 5 of developing.
Can you turn a raisin back into a grape? Was that a thing?
I appreciate everybody that was out there in the live chat. And Roy Munson, if I couldn't remember if I said hey earlier. If I did, I apologize. Hey. And those who were watching maybe didn't say anything. I appreciate you too. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with, leave a comment. They're always appreciated, and I read all of them. Till next weekend will be the mouse party. And I think that's it. Where? There we go. So other than that, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and a good tomorrow.
You still here? It's over. Go home. Go.